Good morning.
Good
Welcome
morning.
to
Good
FYI.
morning. Yeah,
For your
welcome.
information,
Welcome,
I
welcome,
am
welcome.
Director of Finance alongside Sherry Duncan this
Cheers. Last
morning.
time I checked.
Guys, it is the 2nd of August. You're into an
Already,
entire
it's
new
coming on to
month.
month 10. It's coming on to month 10 already. Pick up the pace. Pick up the pace,
The
people.
2nd of August,
Yeah,
you know
we are
what we've
right
been
there
telling
already.
you. We said
Right
that
there already.
the year is just going by so
Yeah,
quickly.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
it's kind of good, you know. I'm glad when the days push forward sometimes, you
Correct,
know.
correct.
It's so difficult out
Coming on to
there.
Christmas and it's snowing, you got to prepare for that too. Oh, it's not going to be snowing where you guys are.
It's snowing where Sharon is.
Yeah,
Sharon dropping some hints right now, you know, wink, wink to the folks.
yeah,
You're gonna
yeah,
be in the
yeah,
snow for
yeah,
Christmas.
yeah,
We
yeah.
hear you. We hear you.
We'll be here in the snow for Christmas. Yeah, we're here in the snow.
Guys, what is going on at your end? Let us know. How's the weather
Good
over there?
morning. Good morning. Trust you guys have had a good weekend. Big Emancipation weekend. Lots of things happening.
Oh, I was
Yeah,
I was
yeah,
following the Bacchanal
yeah. You had
online.
a few minutes here from Ali. We'll be back again with handshake gate and
Mm.
all of that. A full morning. A full
Well, there was
Emancipation.
Jam Zone also.
Oh, there was that.
Yes, there was Jam Zone also. I know that there was this weekend was it was filled. I personally, guys, if you don't, for those of you who don't know, like I'm not really an outdoor person when it comes to like sporting and so forth. Like rarely somebody would have to drag me out to go to those events. But I do
Mm-hmm.
do know yesterday I know like social media was lit up with all the comments back and forth with the drama, if that's the word.
That's what you want to call it. That's
And
what you
with
call
the
it.
drama with promoters and so forth. So very insightful. And I read some of the things and it comes back to the heart of what we spoke about. And I read one particular promoter is saying that he spoke to the Minister of Culture, Youth and Sports, and the minister said they had to go and seek advice from another promoter, you know. So it's very chaotic out there
Wow.
when it
So
comes to those
radical.
things.
We own Emancipation now. When it owns the weekend, they got exclusive rights to this festival.
My goodness. So
Interesting.
I feel a lot, but I'm going to be
Interesting.
speaking. Let me
Interesting.
tell you, I will be speaking a lot on this matter, but I'm gonna put
Which
it
matter?
as separate.
The promotion matter?
No, the matter of how the Ministry of Culture, Youth and Sport
Oh,
is operating right now.
oh,
There's serious issues over there, so
wow,
we have
wow,
to we have
wow.
to speak about it.
Yep, yep.
But how's it
Welcome,
been on
welcome.
your end? What's going on? Alana Tang coming in all the way from region number one, PK Port Kaituma. How are
Good
things
to
up
see you,
there this
Lana.
morning?
All the other guys joining us. Great to see you, folks. Welcome,
I'm seeing
welcome, welcome.
Gladstone, Matthews Gladstone. You've been missing a few days.
Yeah, I know we just gone through some other pages. So good
Yes.
morning to you guys who are now joining us. Fitzherbert Jerick is home. He's enjoying himself,
Oh,
having a
lovely,
fantastic
lovely.
time there in Bobis. And we wish him all the very best. And all the other folks who are visiting, quite a few folks are visiting.
Mm.
Some folks are getting ready to leave us. Marilyn is one of them. Getting ready to leave us, I think, tomorrow. Tomorrow.
Wow.
Yeah, and some other folks too, coming and going. We love it. We love it. We love it. Folks are, when they're leaving the shores, they're not just planting a brick behind them and they're coming back. I mean, that might be in the intention when they leave, but
You
they
know,
go
right?
homesick and then they come
I
back
see Viber
15 years
Johnson
later.
watching from
Yeah,
Boston and
Long Island in the house too.
Warren Figuera all
Long
the way
Island's in
from
the
Long Island.
house,
How are you this morning, Warren?
Yeah. Boston is here too. Boston. I keep hearing Boston is such a lovely place. I think Amanda's sister
Are you
lives there too.
you plan on going, Sharon?
I keep waiting for an invitation. You can't just go. I don't know. You can't.
You could
You
just
can't
go,
just
you
go.
know.
Well, you could just go. But it's better if you know some folks there and I
It's
think you
better,
can
it's
enjoy the city
better.
that day. I ain't want to say anything, but wink, wink. Keep waiting for the invitation to come to Boston. We keep waiting. Oren Baker, Deborah Clark.
Deborah Clark
Yeah,
watching from Barbados. Say,
yeah,
Deborah, how's yourself? How's your family? What's going on over
yeah.
there?
Debs, how you doing? Sherry DeRitt is here also, and all the other guys joining us.
Mhm.
Guys, you coming on. We're so happy about that. Share the live, smash that emoji button. They say the good book says if you receive not, it's because you ask not.
Well,
And
you
so we
make
ask
sure that you
guys,
ask.
actually, guys, share the live, please, pretty please. Smash that emoji button for us and partner with us as well. We're still trying to clear some of our financial responsibilities for last month, and so we're still asking you guys. It's a new month, so partner with us.
Yes,
Partner with us
yes.
so we can do what we got to do. Yolanda Bob Semple is joining us. Sasha Trim. Sasha, how are you doing? It's been a little while. I see. I know some of you come on and you're all quiet.
I see Spice Man.
Good ladies in the house. Good
Spice
ladies in the house.
Man, how are you doing this morning?
Yeah. Welcome, Spice Man. Welcome, welcome.
But some people do come on and not say anymore.
Yeah, and good reason.
But they are different. Like we have some
Good
different
reason.
people.
Yeah.
We have
You
some
want to run
people.
into the trolls and so on. Isabella Butchers, how are you doing? Good to see you, Isabella. All the other guys. And here's
Lacho.
Lacho. Happy post emancipation, guys. Happy post. Let's ease into the week. Don't let me start the thing yet, right? Let me ease into the week. Let me ease it.
Don't start a thing.
Right?
Who are you speaking to specifically?
All or you call him Ike Whistle. Call him Ike Whistle. Guys, good to have all you folks in this end. We're so privileged to have you folks here as we start the morning and we start a new week. We got a couple of things we think you ought to know about. We're gonna be bringing those things to you. And again, we're so happy to have you folks here.
Naomi Drucker for the win, Naomi saying that for the folks that is here before her, they got to be partnering, they get in the credible.
Yes, please find a way, we got lots of ways, and we don't want to speak in a braggadocious way.
Braggadocious.
You got my dictionaries,
Austin's.
But we got Cash App and Zelle and PayPal. We got MMG, MoneyGram, Western Union available to us as well. And you can WhatsApp us. We'll let you know if you need any guidance. 627-6963. Folks, as you come, please share the live, smash the emoji button, and let's get on with it.
It's Tuesday. Come on.
It's
Tuesday, guys. Make sure that you're doing what you have to do.
Yeah. Bellamon is here. It's Tuesday.
It's a short week.
Yeah. But so let's make the best of it. And we got a big rally coming up this afternoon.
Yes, it's huge.
At the parade ground, Burnham Court Parade Ground. I hope as you folks are listening to us, you all are packing, you're picking your water bottles and so on. You're picking out your socks and nice shoes that you can stand up a little bit in, that kind of stuff. And you're preparing to travel from wherever you are, especially those folks in Georgetown.
Yeah.
I want no excuses, right? Find the time in your schedule and come and let us meet. We have a couple of things we want to tell you folks in person. Some things are so near and dear, right? And so special. You can't even talk on my telephone. You have to be in person.
What are we going to do with these folks? What are we going to do? Yeah. Lots to talk about it, and I'm happy about the timing of this. I know that it's scheduled to start at 4:30 this afternoon, so that's a big good.
I'm going for 3. I like everything. I'm going for 3.
That's a good timing for all.
You're speaking to this afternoon, right?
I am speaking this afternoon.
Speaking as well. So we're looking forward. I'm telling you what we're saying here. So you have to come to know. All right. Full stop. Please and thank you. Guys, good to see you. And we really trust you guys have had a good weekend. We really trust you guys. And you have to start the week on Sunday. You start easing into it. You're planning. You're setting your mental state to take on the challenges and so on. And all of that.
Pamela Johnson says you both look like you hadn't met him and saltfish.
Oh,
well, look.
That when the thing hold you, so you stand up, right? You can stop training,
Well, I'm trying to figure out what type of look is that. Is that a good look? A bad look?
I take it in a good way. Right? I take it in a good way. Right? And again, we invite one and all this afternoon to Burnham Court Parade Ground for that rally.
Yeah, but folks, how did you actually
rain or sun? We'll say.
How did you actually spend the weekends, Cheryl? I know it's emancipation.
I had a very quiet weekend. I stayed in because we work very hard. We don't mean this in a braggadocious way. We work very hard.
Word of the day.
And so when we get a chance to rest, I use the opportunity. But rest for me was picking up on some reading and lazing around the house. I tried to watch the movie, didn't get around to it because there's so much to do around the house in terms of just, catching up with some chores and so on.
I'm at a stage in my life when I take like 3 days to look at the movie.
Yeah.
At minimum.
Agent stage.
At minimum. I always have to stop it, go and do something else, pick up the next day.
Yeah.
Then I have to stop again.
I have a son who's in the US, and Disney Plus allows us to watch the movie together.
Oh, lovely.
Group watch. So my wife was in Burbies, and we're all group watching. I'm in town. My younger son is with me, and we're group watching. He's in the States. And by the time we started watching Eternals, and we got about 20 minutes in, and then everybody started falling asleep, and we left it others 2 weeks ago to finish off. Sometime during 2 weeks ago, and we haven't been able to sit down Get out.
So you can start the movie in July and you gotta edit
Yes.
in August. Hopefully.
That's very big.
That's
You're big, you're
that's where
big,
you
you're
know where
big,
you're
you're
going.
big.
You know, fall asleep for the movie. You
Yeah,
gotta come
it
back, fall
happens. You
asleep.
just go with it. You just go with it. And my wife and I are the same. We start watching something, and then 2, 3 days, 4 days later, we're still trying to finish up.
Mm-hmm.
You just take it as it is. You know,
Yeah.
you just go with it. That's how you know you're big. Yeah.
Yeah, but I
Pass.
know a lot of persons were out at the park and so forth yesterday. So
Yes.
and I
Yeah.
have to say,
Yeah.
that it was absolutely a pleasure for me to look at all of the
Hmm.
different
Yeah.
costumes
I'm just
and
tired
dress
of
and
looking
all
at
of
people.
that.
I saw
It's
a man out there
wonderful.
fasting her body, and she said
Yeah.
she ate something, and now her stomach is in a mess. It's either that or she's pregnant. So congratulations either way. It's either that or she preggers. So if it's a lot of congratulations. If not, we're sorry. You know. You see when you get big, every
It's too,
little thing,
too many things you
right?
mix. She's mixing
When you
too
get
many
big, every
things
little thing,
together.
every little thing takes you on. Every little thing eats inside. That's why you're advancing. You got to pick a good. When you're young, you eat anything.
Mhm.
I used to relish those days. I mean, I still could probably eat like half what I used to
Mhm,
I mean, the range of anything.
mhm.
But as you get older, you got it's hard. Or this chicken, it's big foot.
Just a chicken. You
You
eat
know,
something.
it's a range of things. It's a range of things.
I
Yep,
still
yep.
don't eat a lot of things.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah, yeah. By God's grace, we can make it.
I see you, Vashti Magnat
Yeah.
is there
Welcome,
in the house.
guys. Vashti's here. You guys say hi to Rupert too. They're in Waterloo,
Hey, Rupert.
Waterloo, Canada. Her husband, Yvonne Ramasar is here as well, and Dave Rodney. Oh, the beautiful folks. Well, Candace in the rise of Virago, right?
Yes.
Candace never stop training Israel Milton. So, and she said, I enjoyed emancipation at the national park. Congrats, Agda. I think Agda put on a good,
Yes.
a good what do you call it, celebration
Mm.
this year, and of course, much more should be given to them to do it even bigger and better.
Mm.
Right, and it was such a time of reflection because we are at such a critical juncture in our nation's history,
Mhm.
and it looks as though the struggle continues.
Yeah.
We've received emancipation, but the struggle yet continues.
Yeah.
Right? Because we
Well,
have to
then
just change
it's a big thing altogether. I mean, and when you think about it, for me,
Yeah,
everything, I don't know. I guess everything that I talk about, it always goes back to finance to me and economic empowerment. And until we see that,
yeah,
until we are at that level that
yeah.
everyone is
I think
economically
we
empowered,
exactly it.
then until we are there, then we haven't truly gotten anywhere close to where
Yeah,
we need to be.
yeah. And
You
you said
know?
it best because yesterday, as I was reflecting on emancipation, I remember one of the most fantastic books I've ever read um, on the economic system of slavery is Eric Williams' Capitalism and Slavery.
Yeah.
It's not a big book, and I recommend it. It's still in print many years after
Mhm.
it first made its debut. It's still in print. Capitalism and Slavery by Dr. Eric Williams. And two things is fascinating. That was his doctoral thesis.
Mhm.
And this is actually a PhD that you study for. This is bestowed on you, which is the best kind,
The real type.
the real time. Kudos to those folks who, through your body of work or somebody at university, you get a conferred doctorate. All is well and good with that. But don't force people to call it doctor and so on, right? But the studied kind is a different story. And Dr. Eric Williams got that PhD very early in his life. I think he was under 30.
Wow.
Right? I'm often very, very encouraged by people like that.
Mm.
Amlata Prasad is another young person who got a PhD very early in her life. Walter Rodney was 24 years old when he got his PhD. Those are naturally bright people. But the point I'm making is that scholars have interrogated Dr. Williams' work before it was published as a doctoral student, after it was published, and in the years since.
'Cause it has-
And they can't
it-
find too many faults.
It has deep meaning.
it,
It has
right?
deep meaning.
He did the
Yeah.
work and produced that and showed that while racism was incidental to slavery at its core was economics, right? People who wanted to make money
That's what it is.
and try to find the cheapest means to cultivate and to what have you, what have you. At its core level, it was economics. Fantastic, fantastic, fantastic work. And I would recommend that. Of course, I know it's available at Austin.
You know, Austins have a lot of books. I know about Austins all my
I
life.
was gonna send me a check, like some of these people be big it up. I'm a creature of habit, Twitter. I am a creature
You
of
see how I hold my cup?
habit. Looks a little more professional.
I'm telling you, that's how I always
Yeah.
do it.
And so, like, I don't think around too much, right? I'm a creature of habit. If I am a one bookstore for life kind of person, right? So, but I recommend Capitalism and Slavery. And I don't know if you all read in seasons, like how is Emancipation, you read in that season, how summer's coming up, you might read a novel that focuses some Toni Morrison, something along that line. That's like a summer read kind of thing.
Yeah.
But Capitalism and Slavery, if you ever want to understand, forget what you know. This is like what our criminal law lecturer told us first year undergraduate law student. Forget everything you know about law. You know nothing. You can learn law from now. Forget everything you know about slavery. Everything you heard. Read Capitalism and Slavery. Let it be the base, and then you build on that. And that's a good place to start. And so when you read about people who came for betterment, you can say, you don't know with them, I mean, people came for betterment. When you read Capitalism and Slavery, you realize,
But
this
I
thing here.
like when I look at it, and I have to be honest with that. When I look at it from when you read books like Capitalism and Slavery, and you see the dynamics and you examine the relationship between the two, and then you look at the system that is here today, you wonder how far have you really come. And that's why I go back to looking at economic empowerment of a people, and how is that done? What are the loopholes that they have to go through to actually get to somewhere, as opposed to another set of people.
Yeah.
So it is very fascinating to
And
look
let
at the
me-
dynamics and
let-
how far we've come. If has a system really changed?
It's a critical examination worth making. As I said earlier, we
Yeah.
might have replaced one colonial master for the other. You were colonized by countries previously. Now it's big corporations doing the exact same thing, right? Exploiting the natural resources,
Multinational corporations,
all of that.
yeah.
So you might look at it from that standpoint too, and all of that is good for is par for the course. But if I'm recommending Capitalism and Slavery by Trinidadian Dr. Eric Williams, I got to recommend also. There's a fun, our very own Fred Degar. Fred Degar is Guyanese, living in the diaspora, lives in the UK. Fantastic writer, and one of the most brilliant books he's written. It's a book I read very early. The Longest Memory. The Longest Memory is an account of slavery. It's a father who spent his whole life in slavery, and his young son who wants to resist the status quo, right? And there is that battle in between them. And the son ultimately runs away, is found by the slave masters, and is beaten. I think he left it dying. I'm not too certain. But the final line in the book, I think, is the father reflecting that memory is pain trying to resurrect itself. It's out when you think back on things, how painful that experience is, sometimes worse than living it. And when you read his account of the brutality of slavery, which is based on a lot of research that he did too for the novel, and when you think about it, is so heart-wrenching and so brutal in the accounting of how, when you run away, the penalty for that, because they wanted to make you an example. And to think that even some of the facts in it and his imagination combined cannot account for the thing in the reality.
Wow.
Right? It upsets you and it pains you and it makes you angry to know that other human beings subject other human beings to this system. And to have lived it, you can't even imagine what that was like. So it's an interesting time to reflect. And the thing that we have broken away from all of that, we have broken away from indentureship. Why do we fight among ourselves when we should be really, really empowering each other because of where we've come from? It's a fascinating experience we've had.
It has to be looked at.
Yeah.
It has to be looked at. Guys, it is so good to have you here with us this morning. I encourage you to continue to share the stream as you come on. I see Mingo Garaway there in the
Yeah,
comment
yeah,
section.
yeah,
We have a lot to
yeah,
actually get into the discussion, and I
yeah.
want to move into some things that I've seen being covered in the morning
Go right
papers.
ahead. Go
You
right
know,
ahead.
we've been speaking about the fact is about the radioactive materials being given the green light to be
Yeah.
stored in various at a various location in this country, and those folks decided that they were going to take people to court and all of that,
They said they had enough.
right? Well, guess what? And this is it's always interesting to see how the response that comes out. It's like Coverdale residents relieved at the overturning of the EPA's decision on radioactive materials projects, right? And they said they're not letting down guard.
Yeah.
But it says in the report here that the Coverdale residents are relieved that the Environmental Assessment Board has thrown out the EPA's decision to not require an impact survey for the project to store radioactive material in the East Bank Demerara community.
That's interesting because I'm certain the EPA must have a checklist of how you meet an exemption from not requiring this here,
Radioactive
right?
material,
How you get to that
do they
exemption?
even know what it is?
And to know
Like,
that this body that has an oversight function in the
yeah,
EPA can overturn its own decision is
yeah.
fascinating in and of itself.
Hmm.
Right? It's fascinating in and of itself. And when you hear about radioactive, I mean that makes the back of your
It
hearing that
does.
the head stand up.
Correct. It's as serious as it could be. And I think the residents, like I said, the residents, like, they have our full support when they speak out about these things, and you realize the power of the people and the voice
Yeah,
of the people on
yeah,
the ground
yeah, yeah, yeah.
when you go down these lines. So it was absolute chaos. But I have to say, one of my takeaway from this is the fact that the EPA gave the green light, but then the Environmental Assessment Board, which is EAB, actually came and they overturned that decision from the EPA. So it gives a little glimmer of hope that there's
Yeah,
some checks and balances
yeah,
at
yeah.
that level. But again, I have to say, if there wasn't the public push back and actual residents coming out to speak out about these things, it would have been
Yeah.
smooth sailing.
That is a challenge that we have, where it seems, and if you guys have been keen with our programs, we have been chronicling. Sorry, you didn't have the graphic prep. Chronicling the amount of exemptions we've had for the EIAs, which it seems like the exemption is the rule, right? And the actual EIA is the exemption. It's quite, and it's a whole host of business ventures like this radioactive treatment plant and waste treatment plant and all of that. That seems to be getting the green light,
Yeah.
minusing the EIA. It was quite interesting, and this is part of what we have called here, to use a phrase, made popular by Kenraj Ramjit and Leader of the Lives of Change, breaking down the guardrails of democracy. These things are to safeguard the public,
Yeah.
safeguard the public's interest in making sure that this radioactive facility is good to be next to where people dwell, really and truly. If this seeps into the water system, the damage to human life could be untold. And it's nothing to say, okay, there could be compensation, like they got flaring, and you say it's cheaper to compensate that they stop the flaring. It's nothing about the compensation, right? When your body get cancer ridden and your lungs thing and these fancy cancers like COVID-19 you have these days, is compensation going to help you? Right? So let's prevent the thing from the beginning. Let's prevent the thing from the beginning. And
but those things are huge loss. I just want to say exactly what you said there. There was a movie, a popular movie, I think, with I can't remember her name, but Erin Brockovich. That was the name of the movie. But I actually went on to say, I'm mentioning it because it was based on a true story with the same chemicals being in area with residents, and those persons develop serious complications, cancers, and all of that. But the difference is there, and that's in the U.S. The difference is there that the persons are actually allowed the leverage. Well, not the leverage. They actually have an avenue to go to get redress, and they went out and they sued, and it was millions of dollars the company had to pay out to each resident because of the complications that those people experience. Health is crazy. No amount of money you could give someone can actually compensate for how for the level of sickness that they experience when you take into consideration any chemicals, radioactive, and all of those things that is being thrown into the
Yeah,
environment. It's
yeah, yeah,
crazy. It's
yeah,
crazy.
yeah, yeah. People must come first. You
Yeah.
see, there's a mismatch between this administration,
Mm.
the words and their actions. We care, but
Mm.
when you look for the actions to
Yeah.
line up with we care, you don't see that at all. And that is why you have a big pushback by the Americans. Inclusivity, transparency. Because they talk these things. If the Americans were seeing it, they won't, you understand me? They won't talk just to hear themselves. They
Mm.
notice this. And then Irfan Ali comes back and he is huffing and puffing about what people thought of their visit. People know you are reprimanded. We aren't foolish,
Yeah.
right? And then you have this whole assault on your critics and so on.
Uh,
People aren't silly at all, and to say that, oh, this trip was like a kumbaya moment with them and the US,
that is correct.
it can be, it's unfathomable.
That is correct. That is correct. I mean, and I, I heard a lot, and we have our own experts that deals with matters of foreign affairs and so forth. We have our people. So I have to say that a lot of persons did call me and give their view. A lot of people did say, it's absolute chaos the way in which that whole operation was done, and even the trip. I have to say the words of some persons were asking, why is Ali hanging around there waiting, looking, hunting for
Yeah,
meetings?
yeah,
It was a little
yeah.
crazy,
And we're gonna
you
focus on
know.
that. We're gonna focus on that.
we're gonna come. We're gonna
Sorry, kind
come
of
to it.
segue into that.
Yeah.
You were talking about the morning
But
paper.
I want to go. Just two other things. Let me tell you. The second thing I'll just mention in the morning papers: MV Malali out of service.
Again,
I
didn't
don't.
that just come back from a
I,
500 million repair
I have to go. I
rehabilitation?
have to go check. Maybe I'm mixing up the names or something. But
MV
somebody.
Malali is like the Isuku. They get really quick
So
money.
it's a press release from the ministry. This is the Ministry of Public
Mhm.
Works actually said that a vessel which operates the Perico Wakenham and Perico Legwan route will be out of service until further notice, and this is as a result of the vessel experiencing technical difficulties.
Wow,
Mm-hmm.
that's like the government technical difficulties.
Right.
Wow,
So
wow.
that is one bit, and the last bit of I find a little bit interesting, I have to say, is that and this is coming out of I'm taking this bit out of Starbucks News, and it says the PTAs expected to cover teachers' expense during cash handout.
What?
Sources say.
You have to make it. I was distracted. I beg your pardon. What?
For those of you who didn't get that, it says the PTAs expected to cover teachers' expense during cash handout. Says sources. I'm quoting directly from Starbucks News this morning, guys. Schools have been told that parent teachers associations will have to bear all expenses related to staff being on the ground for the payout for the government's cash grant for school children, which is scheduled to begin today.
Interesting.
The news
Interesting.
has been described as unfair due to the fact that schools are
Interesting.
yet to undertake any major fundraising activity due to COVID pandemic. There are schools with PTA without a
Wow.
cent.
Wow. And you know what? We've covered last week. We saw a circular in
Hmm.
which the local government ministry, or whichever is the relevant authority for it,
Hmm.
is saying that teachers, along with local government staff, will come out
Hmm.
and clean on Sundays as
Hmm.
part of the government's cleanup campaign for the rest of the year.
Yeah. I, I want to say that just don't think about it when these headlines go out. A lot of times we think about it in that little box of the coastlands and how things operate here.
Mhm.
You would have mentioned, guys, you would have been listening, you would have heard, we spoke about at length the amount of money students had to pay to actually get, and parents had to pay to get their children from school, like Ramadan Secondary, for
Mhm.
example. Let
Yeah.
me let me just
Yeah.
go there, right?
Yeah.
Now, teachers that have to go at those locations now to actually give cash handout, that actually have to travel back,
Mhm.
right? You have to think about it. Our country never think about this, just
But it's interesting
coastlanders.
how this has now been devolved to the teachers.
Yeah.
suddenly the teachers got a handout. So,
Because they are horrible with the distribution mechanism.
yeah, maybe the
I've
fire
said
too.
it 100 times ever since the PP took office. They have not done any cash distribution at all. No grants with a proper distribution mechanism. I said it several times.
Yeah,
They
yeah,
have they are yet to come up with
yeah,
any distribution mechanism that is going to be without these major
yeah,
flaws. You understand little thing hiccups here and there, but not major flaws like that.
yeah.
You haven't secure funding for the people that actually have to go and give the money out. Like how does
I
that work?
understand. I
You
understand.
understand?
I
I
understand.
probably did.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Probably.
Aaron Barker asking, Barker rather, asking, where would the PTA get the money from? That's what they're
Well,
asking.
Priya needs to answer that. How do you tell that? How do you tell it?
That
You
is
didn't even
asking.
find out, and especially schools in the Hinton location where people have to spend the most money to actually, the teachers have to spend the most money to actually get to those locations. Many times the teachers don't live there, and during the holidays they would go off. During the holidays, those teachers would go off, go home, and so forth. But it's absolutely chaotic and crazy to tell them now that those schools have to, those PTAs, many of which just exist in name, and that's just me being brutally honest. Many of which just exist in name have to go out and fund that, and you would know also that the strength and the of the PTA would be based on the number. Well, it should be if you were to look at it in that structural way, should be based on the number of students at the actual school. And it's absolutely crazy to expect schools that are just meagerly populated to actually have the capacity to pay those expenses. And the fact remains again, share the schools in the hinterland, they don't have a lot of students,
Interesting.
they don't have a lot of well, they don't have a lot of students, so definitely they don't have a lot of parents there. Schools like Ramnang secondaries and so forth, the parents don't even have, they probably visit the school once or twice. And then you're going to go and tell these
Yeah,
people
yeah.
that the PTA have to cover the expense for the teachers for the day. How does that work in your head? Let me drink my tea.
Interesting, interesting. Um, well, those things are in the papers, folks.
I'm ready.
We had to get year
Today
3.
I am
And
ready.
things are getting better.
I'm ready for
All right?
all that
Things are
all
getting
that's
better.
coming with this particular one, because you're gonna hear about it. The amount of parents is actually gonna say that they handed out, they give back books, and now based on the circle at at a specific school, the teachers are now responsible for the books that once the parents could prove, they didn't specify what is acceptable proof. Pure
Interesting.
chaos. But those are the three things I wanted to touch on the morning papers before we got into the substantive discussion, as it is.
Yeah, and what's brewing? I'm happy you asked me what's
Yes.
brewing, because over the weekend,
Mhm.
the US has killed one of the Al Qaeda's leader. Is it Ayman al-Zawahiri?
I'm going to trust what you
Right?
say on this one, Sharon.
Right? And he was killed in a drone strike in the center of Kabul
Mhm.
over the weekend. And he was the one of the most the top leader after Bin Laden's death.
Mhm, mhm.
Right? And so the American has taken him out. The President Joe Biden of the USA give an address to the nation on learning that he was killed. And this is a drone strike in the middle of Kabul.
It's as
Right?
crazy
You
as
know
it
what it
is.
says to me? Outside of the whole um, Taliban issue and all that, Americans are always watching you. Because here is Ayman al-Zawahiri, going his merry way in Kabul's, city. I think that's the capital of Afghanistan, and
Mhm.
there's a drone hundreds of feet overhead, if not thousands, watching down and watching down. Uncle Sam is always watching and listening, and so
When it comes to drone and drone force, you're speaking about drone. I have to say, under the coalition administration, we spoke about the utilization of drones to actually do a lot of work and aid in
yeah,
farmers,
not
right?
just buying just veterans.
Right. The PvP came in, and I listened, and I had to tell them, it was a joke to me when I heard Mustafa, which is the Minister of Education, the Minister of Agriculture.
Same thing.
My goodness, the Minister of Agriculture right now. speaking about the drones and so forth. But guess what? There's
It was so
nothing.
novel.
There's nothing good that there. Well, there's nothing that they can do in a transparent way. There's nothing that they can do without corruption being entailed in the process. And even with the drones that is being utilized here right now, could you believe that the drone is being categorized? The utilization of the drones to actually go and spray the fields and so forth is being categorized. So similar to that of a helicopter. So you have to get clearance to actually operate it. So now the small man with the drone, mind you, they're getting the leverage to bring it in without certain taxations
Yeah,
and so forth,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
But however, now when they have to get clearance to actually use it, it's only certain people getting clearance to
Wow,
spray the field.
wow, wow. Well, the Americans using drones
Well, the
differently.
Americans using drones at a different
Exactly.
level.
Hearing and
At a
watching,
different level.
hearing and watching you, and Afghanistan's a foreign territory,
Hmm.
but they were the Americans. Probably didn't. I don't know. Well, have to have invaded the space, but
Hmm.
you know how these missiles and
Hmm.
all that work now. You could be
Yeah.
200 miles out and you even know it's will hit you, but
Yeah.
they're listening and they're watching,
They are. They
right?
are.
So when they start talking about inclusivity and
Uh-huh.
transparency and so on, drawing the red line, you go down the road.
Go down brave.
Go down the road.
That's
Go
what I
down,
can
go
say
down the road.
about that.
Go down the road.
Go brave.
Come home and if you can't get to the end quick enough, the biggest you left with the band there.
Don't do it.
Right?
Don't do it, Sharon.
You got your tail between your foot. But you come home and it's like them people. They walk home quietly. Right? They know the man walking behind him all the time. When they get to the gap, tell the body, They can bring my big brother you. Wait till you get by the gap and then you body it up. They got some rights.
You're gonna speak.
Don't
And
you know by the gap.
I'll speak about it once I'm home.
As soon as you bend down, so you tell your legs the guy. You left with the action there, right?
You could have gone
When you meet with
rap
Mrs.
on the
Lee,
door. Mm-hmm.
Mrs. Lee, you got this jacket about him, Jeffries. You don't want meet with me?
Sure, stop it.
Miss Lee?
We are far from there.
You don't want meet with me? Huh? Could you help me out here? Huh? I can get you WhatsApp number. All right. Let's get on some other things, folks. Let's get on some other things. We come in there. We come in there.
Oh my
There's so much I
goodness.
could say. So that was the Americans, right? I think this is the Spanish. The Spanish different. When the Spanish got a war to conserve the enemy to fight you, why you know that? We got to conserve to fight the enemy. So the Spanish, I think they're part of the coalition against Russia. And the Spanish is saying to conserve on the fuel that they need from Russia, right? Don't wear tie. Because the less tie you wear, less hot you are, less AC you need. You see people thinking.
I'm choking on it. So,
The Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez, he said stop wearing ties to save energy because less fuel and less reliance on Russian fuel. We got
we have to. I have to agree with.
I follow suit the man this morning.
I have to agree with him.
I follow
No,
suit.
I have to agree with him. There's so much that we can agree on. One of the things that we just came out of, yesterday, emancipation celebration and all of that. But then we walk around and we are expected to uphold so many colonial standard,
Yeah.
colonial standard
Yeah.
in our hometown, in our home countries. Like
Yeah.
it's like we haven't gotten to the place
Correct.
that we are comfortable.
Like shaking people's hands.
No, we're not going there yet.
Like shaking people's hands.
Before we get to that,
Like,
it's important to note
Uh-huh.
that Sandra Granger was one of the persons that was very vocal about our dress code, and she showed it herself. She would wear her armlets and so forth, and very professionally
Yeah.
dressed and all of that.
Yeah.
But she was saying,
Yeah.
we can't expect persons in
Yeah.
a country with a climate as ours to actually dress as though
Yeah.
they're in the US where it
Yeah,
snows.
and you know what? Aria Ali
Crazy.
followed suit yesterday.
Yeah.
She went strapless yesterday. And an ordinary day, Ali couldn't get in a lot of ministries.
Well, and that is true.
She went
And
strapless. Kudos to her, more power to her.
no,
Yeah.
you have to get to a point that you
It was
acknowledge.
the total opposite between her and her husband yesterday because he wrapped up yesterday.
I don't know what he was
always told you
wearing.
I tightly wrapped.
Don't know what
very,
was weird.
very tight. He was wrapped up like he had all the cloth that she left off. She didn't have any shoulders.
She dressed as though it's a
Yeah,
hot climate
yeah.
and she's out to go
Kudos to
about.
her,
So
but
kudos to
he
her for
thought he was
that.
in
Yep.
Arabia. He was wrapped up, looking like he was mummified a little bit there too.
I don't know.
Uh,
I don't
he
know.
was tightly wrapped in white gauze, very tightly wrapped.
Was it an African weirdo?
I don't. It's up for grabs.
And I Mr. Share had
Up
on
for
an
grabs.
interesting headpiece. I wasn't sure.
I think he thought the Saudis were still here. He was heading down. He thought they were still here. All right. Alia matched the part.
I don't think it's important what he wore, but I
Ali
think his
matched the
moves
part.
are a little bit more conversational.
People say Maria. Move it. Hold on before we get here. So the Spanish again.
I'm in support of it. I'm in support of what the Spanish is saying. I'm in support
Drop
of.
the ties,
I'm in
save
support
energy,
of everyone
less-
that's good. That
Relax.
addresses
It's
more
little
to our
things you do.
climate. Yeah.
It's the little things you do that can offset big expenses down the line. While that is happening, I thought that you and Amanda, all of the powerful women out there like Karen Clark and Ali and Sandra Granger and all that could benefit from this, because as we're talking about emancipation and colonization and all of that, this is one of the things that we're following out of Australia. Australia still has the head of state, the Queen. Well, this indigenous Australian senator, Lydia Trope, she wasn't having it. She was taking the oath of office and she was going to state how she feels about the Queen. Right? In Black Panther, the girl said, "Down with the colonizers." Lydia Trope wasn't having it. I love people who have some testicular fortitude, to have a position.
Have a position. Stick with it.
Right? Controversial or not, to have a position. Too many people go with the flow, go with the tide. Right? And that could be. But Linda Trope, she wasn't having it. She wasn't having it quite recently at all. And here is Linda Trope, this senator from Australia, in action on the floor of the National Assembly there in Australia, taking the oath of office up as a senator.
Well, please recite the affirmation on the card handed to you.
I, Sovereign Lydia Thorpe, do solemnly and sincerely affirm and declare that I will be faithful and I bear true allegiance to the colonising Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II.
Senator Thorpe. Senator Thorpe, you are required to recite the oath as printed on the card, so please recite the oath. Senator Thorpe, order.
I, Lydia Thorpe, do solemnly and sincerely affirm and declare that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II, her heirs and successors according to law.
Senator Thorpe, please sign the test roll and Senator's roll.
Down with the colonizers. I love her. I love her right away. I root for the underdogs all the time. I love her right away.
We gotta be following her.
Particular fortitude. You understand? If Senator Thorpe didn't have the courage of your conviction, nobody would know her.
Nobody. We would not have been speaking about it this morning.
I love her.
That was
I
something.
love her. But like speakers anywhere in the world.
It's different.
Speakers are done with the colonizers. I'm strained. There's a part.
Well,
you
I
pray in
mean,
National Assembly.
yeah.
You pray for the president. I'm really strained with the police.
Yeah, I listened to one of the activities organized by the Ali administration over the weekend, and I heard like one of the items had the universal prayer, but the universal prayer ended with speaking about one Guyana. How in the name
Yeah,
of
for
God
real.
is
So if
that
you
a
don't like one
universal
girl, if you
prayer?
don't like one girl, no, you can't fit in it.
How in the name of God is that a universal prayer?
Yeah,
There is a
yeah. Do
universal
the right
prayer.
thing.
Like, don't say that it's a universal prayer if it's not. You know, so it's crazy. But guys, I know just before we move off of the international on what's
Colonizers.
happening at the international level to the regional level, before I want to mention
How you know
something.
we're moving up?
I know, I just know, I
Because
just know.
you get 10 stories.
Before we come up, one of the things that I want to speak about, okay, I'm going to allow Sherry to dig into this a little bit, but it's a China-Taiwan visit by Nancy Pelosi. You know, he's not going to be digging into this, but you know, we've been talking about the visit by
Nancy, go ahead.
Pelosi to Taiwan, and the fact that there were some reports, whether or not I believe this is a different story, that says the Biden administration, is trying to convince her not to go and so forth and whatever, and nevertheless. She's going to touch down there today. I know.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not sure the
Yeah.
timing right now, but I know she was en route earlier today. So let us see how that goes on. But
Yeah.
we're going to be following it, and the discussion will be
Yeah.
had tomorrow morning. We're going to pick back up on a bit of this. But it says tension spike ahead of
Yeah.
Pelosi's expected visit. It says
Yeah.
Taiwan is bracing for a potential show of force from China,
It
as
has.
U.S. Home Speaker Nancy Pelosi is expected to arrive on the island late Tuesday, which is today. And this we're picking up out of BBC. And I have to say that this is something, a lot of tensions out there as to this visit. But it goes to show, for me, I'm looking at what is going on right about now as in the Senate and so forth. And you understand why Pelosi is taking
Yeah.
this,
Yeah. In
taking this
addition to
step.
that, I saw another report that suggests that there've been Chinese aircraft, military aircraft, buzzing on the border airspace with Taiwan.
Some people think this is a bluff,
Yeah.
There's a lot to for Pelosi to secure when it comes to her stand at home and actually having actually securing that position there. But then again, when you're looking at China, when they are expecting in the U.S. and an upcoming election there, China is on the same front. So when those two forces clash, and it's going to be interesting to see how today plays out and all of that. We're definitely going to be reporting on it moving forward.
What I take from this here, the moral of the story here, women's problems. Red women even worse.
I don't even know how you got that.
Women's problems. Right? Pelosi going to Taiwan, military aircraft from China buzzing over international incident. Women's problems.
Wow.
Red women even worse.
A simple trip.
So
come on, right? What
there's
some
that.
would see as a simple trip.
And
not
as
simple
we're
anymore.
coming closer to the region, it gets a little sad now. We spoke about this on this program before. There was a historic case in Trinidad where the court says that you cannot hold a murder accused without bail, because again, at the heart of it is the presumption of innocence until proven guilty.
That is correct.
Right? And Trinidad, much like us, we hold murder accused without bail, I think, if my memory serves me right. And Trinidad has been doing this close to 100 years. Of course, one of the morals of this story here is not because we've been doing something for a long time means it's the right thing.
Correct.
The High Court in Trinidad says it was wrong, and the Privy Council 3 days ago just ruled it was wrong. This was the first guy who was released on bail for murder. He was recently murdered. He was recently gunned down in Trinidad. Just outside.
I read that, and I read it, and I follow a couple persons on social media platforms like TikTok and so forth that's actually having a lot to say about this, because we've been talking and we follow crime locally, of course. This is our major concern, what's going on in Guyana. We also follow what's going on in our Caribbean sister countries and the crime level there. And we know that there's been a lot of concern. I mean, we had, I believe it was a cricketer recently speaking about Bravo. He's very concerned about what is going on there. And I said, I understood. And then you see the Privy Council actually ruling on something, someone being released and then being gunned down.
Yeah, the Privy Council did uphold the ruling of the High Court in Trinidad, saying that you cannot hold a murder accused indefinitely. Well, without bail, because again,
that particular case he seems to have been safer behind bars.
Yeah, and as we're talking about murder, we come close to home because in Region 6 over the weekend, a Kanji businessman Vikram Vik Subaran was stabbed to death in his kitchen.
Yeah.
And this gets a little twisted because police have held a suspect who said that Subaran, they've held a male who said Subaran has made sexual advances to him. He was trying to get out of the house. Subaran blocked his exit. There was a knife on the kitchen counter and he stabbed him.
Wow.
Subaran, from the report we have here, owns two businesses in which is 60 stationery store and something else. But he's a businessman. And again, the story, I think we picked this up out of some of the details from this, picked up out of Newsroom, and Santa Cruz is carrying it as well. And they're saying again, Newsroom in particular, that Subaran made sexual advances against this male, was requiring sexual favors. The man, and according to the account the man is given, said he tried to block his exit from the house, and he stabbed him.
Yeah, well, this is because I guys, listen.
Yeah.
I read about this. Read a headline that businessman found stabbed to death in his home basically, and we talk about crime here, we talk about crime situation and all that, but then as details started emerging, especially and we are seeing. I know the headline in Newsroom says businessman's sex demands led to deadly altercation, and suspect tells police, and we're taking that directly from there. But I did see a couple of other sites also carrying that's the allegation they're being made. Very serious allegation. I think we had a very similar matter not so long ago, months ago, if I'm to remember correctly. So there's a lot going on. So, but murder is murder. At the end of the day, murder is murder. So let us see how that goes. And justice must be must be served.
I would say taking a life is taking a life, because there is an account, I think, in either of the papers who carried this story, that he said it was in self-defense, so it wasn't intentional. So there's that law students, we talk about mens rea, the intention is to kill or not to kill, determines murder or
well,
so
you see, I'm glad Sherrod is here to correct my terminology. But to the based on what my very layman understanding.
of the law. He's very versed in economics.
Right? I don't pretend to know law. Listen, that's my. But I do know. I've heard a lot of talk before when it comes to self-defense, and that you should be using equal force. You know, if someone has a weapon, then you use a weapon. I don't know. Listen,
proportionate to whatever the danger
correct.
is,
Exactly. So someone blocking you, is it proportionate? Well, we're gonna see how this case goes, to say the least.
Families, as justice takes its course. Thoughts and prayers with the family. And we come to the biggest you this morning, the biggest you. Ali and his critics. There is the speech where Ali gives half of it to the naysayers, the critics, the detractors on. I love it because you know what? We're in Ali's head and he paying us rent. I love it. So he came back home, he waited till he get the gap, right? And then he and then he bowed up, right? He turned to his brothers and said, hold me back. He walked all the way home. Hold my shot. You see this one here? I like Ali. Ali's a gift.
The kids are given.
It'll be sad to see him go. Right? It'll be sad to see. Ali's a gift.
I don't think Nandala and folks in Nandala hold your sentiment. I don't think they're going to be sad to see him go.
I see Nandala.
More power to that action.
I mean, sad to see. He's a gift, He's a gift.
Mm-hmm.
Tightly wrapped. He's a gift. And so he came back fuming. Because he wants us to believe the Americans love them so bad. They invited them to this conference on the eve of their second anniversary in government to tell them about more transparency. The wealth of this country must be distributed to all the people of the country. Those are the love letters that they got over the weekend. And he said that we are wrong to interpret that in a negative way, right? That those are terms of endearment. And then he came back home over the weekend and he started to abuse out. Hold me back. You see this one, Cory Booker, right? If I only was in the States, hold me back. Right? If I only was in the States and things, but I will be taking this matter higher. Well, you went high as you could go, perhaps. After the Secretary
And
of
what
State and the Vice
happened?
President,
What
did he raise
happened?
these matters with the Vice President when he spoke to her?
Oh
Cory Booker?
goodness.
He said they spoke about the important issues. Did he raise them with the Secretary of State? You see this? You see this Jacobite Cory hate that you have here? I don't know why you don't like me. I'm a nice person. You know? Right? I'm a nice person. I know the difference between transaction and business. I'm a nice person.
Are you trying to bait a comment from me on this one?
Folks. Here is
Yeah,
finale.
I listened to that with,
Here's our finale over the weekend. This is Irfan versus Hakeem Jeffries, you know. I didn't even know if Hakeem Jeffries know who Irfan Ali is, really and truly. But Irfan Ali versus Hakeem Jeffries.
Let me be clear. Every single person the president humbly requested to meet in the US, I met. Let me dispel that one too. Every single one of them. And let me be clear on this too. Because I saw in one article the name Jeffries mentioned. This president wrote, well, not me, asked the Foreign Affairs Ministry and the Ambassador Hines to write him, inviting him to a meeting. He has not responded to the ambassador's invitation. Ask yourself why. If you have all these concerns, why you haven't attended a meeting that you were invited to. Stop playing politics with the future of a country. This president will not allow it. I will speak about it. And in stronger terms, I'll speak about it.
Yeah. You know, when he said this president, I'm looking for Jagdu. I know Jagdu attended the this Saturning. That was the Saturning for the pediatric maternal hospital at Good for Acting. I don't know if Jagdu attended it. When he said this president will not allow it, I'm looking for Jagdu. Jagdu did. I don't know if he attended there.
I think that I think that's the angle actually that the persons need to understand is that we are very aware that when it comes to intelligence, US have intelligence on the ground. And they are by no way delusional as to who holds the power to make decision as it pertains to the country and the direction that the country goes in. So I think it may be it would have been a little more weighty had that request been sent from Barra Jagdeo.
But the same. I want to point out two things here. By the same measure that Irfan Ali is holding Cory Booker, he can be held by the same measure. Because if Hakeem Jeffries' actions concern him so much, he had the ear of the Secretary of State. He could have raised it with him, right? He had the ear of the Vice President of the United States. He could have raised Hakeem Jeffries with them and his behavior and his disposition, according to them, to his administration, if it was so important to him. But he leaves all of those forums, right, to come home where what he said doesn't matter.
Listen. To
row about Cory Booker not Hakeem Jeffries not meeting him in US.
Let me remind you about his disposition when he was there. His disposition was, could I get your WhatsApp now? Please.
You know, and I wonder.
No, we have to understand. We have to understand.
If he would have had the same fire and fury that he's trying to summon here. But you know what? You know something with Irfan. When Jagdeo writes Irfan's script, right? He sounds better. He's reading that script there, and he's manufacturing that angle, right? He didn't read what Cory Booker article, right?
Jeffrey.
That was Jeffrey. That was implanted in this. He had to make that line, and he delivered it well because it's in the script. When he goes off script now, it's a different story. That's one thing I want to point out there. And I want us to run it back again for those persons who might not have start from the beginning. This manufactured anger against Hakeem Jeffries, Senator Hakeem Jeffries in the United States. So you left all the forums there that you can complain if you're so concerned about Hakeem Jeffries' actions towards your administration.
Yeah.
You leave all of those forums, right? Where you had the ear of his superiors in the US.
Just people didn't come to hear
But you
about
come
that.
down to complain to the British High Commissioner who attended that event. You had some other foreign high commissioners there too, who really can't help you.
Those people didn't go to listen to that.
Precisely.
And that's the whole thing. They didn't go.
Here's your finale again, folks. Rowing about Hakeem Jeffries not meeting him. Wow. You see these colonial conventions where people think, you know, an invitation is like he's summoning Hakeem Jeffries to meet with him. Like you think he's leader of the free world. Here's your finale, folks.
Let me be clear. Every single person the president humbly requested to meet in the US, I met. Let me dispel that one too. Every single one of them. And let me be clear on this too. Because I saw in one article the name Jeffries mentioned. This president wrote, well, not me, asked the Foreign Affairs Ministry and the Ambassador Hines to write him, inviting him to a meeting. He has not responded to the ambassador's invitation. Ask yourself why. If you have all these concerns, why you haven't attended a meeting that you were invited to. Stop playing politics with the future of a country. This president will not allow it. I will speak about it. And in stronger terms, I'll speak about it.
You know, I want to point out to something there. Like, you know, even in that little short video as it is there, you know, the discrepancy there is so crazy.
Douglas.
You started, you know, and that president started by saying, why is he even referring to himself in the third person?
This president.
Like, I don't know. Nevertheless,
Trying to convince himself. This president.
He's not saying that he's there. He is the president, you know, and he is the person that is. He didn't say I'm not gonna allow that or something like that.
Yeah.
This and nevertheless, but the first thing he said is that everyone that they requested to meet with, they met with, right? And then he went on to say in the strongest possible voice that he could muster up that Jeffries did not meet with them after they requested to meet with him. I know he tried to. What I did notice that he tried to belittle who Jeffries is by saying he saw the name Jeffries.
Same Jeffries
Right?
wanted to meet with him.
Right. He saw the
That was
name.
important enough for him to meet with him. Same Jeffries.
That's my point, right?
Burke says a lot of things about him. I didn't try to meet with Burke.
He said he saw the name Jeffries, trying to basically water down who Jeffries is. You know, Congressman Jeffries. You know, Congressman Jeffries, and you can't water down. In no level could you water down Hakeem Jeffrey and who he is. He's a former whip of the Congressional Black Caucus. Let's start from there. You know, he's the current chair of the Democratic Caucus. He is, and everyone knows when it comes to the Speaker of the House where he's positioned in terms of that.
Do you think about that? And think about Hakeem Jeffries or any U.S. senator watching Irfan's response. Would I want to meet with that fella?
That's the point. You know, that's somebody that literally doesn't even have.
Would I want to meet with him? Really and truly, right? Why would I want to meet with him?
Yeah.
Huffing and puffing. But I want to give you a segue. I want to give you an aside that has bearing on this, because he said that he wrote to Jeffries, but then he didn't write to him. It was Sam Hines and Foreign Affairs, and he didn't respond. That's what he said. He wrote to Jeffries and he didn't respond. Right? Jonathan Yearwood, a local activist, wrote to the Commissioner of Information for some information on impressions and why they're getting all of these contracts and the value of the contracts and so on. The Minister of Information responded to him by saying he's on leave, like he's the only person who works in the office. And when he comes back, he's going to supply the information. Or he's going to try to see what the issue is. But in the meantime, he could contact the Minister of Housing for the information. Right? He did contact the Minister of Housing, and Jonathan Yearwood has not gotten a response. Starbuck News reached out to the Minister of Housing to find out about the Jonathan Yearwood issue and the request for the information. I want to read part of Starbuck News account. This is yesterday. This is a Sunday Starbuck News, right? Starbuck News reached out to, it has bearing. Starbuck News reached out to the, Starbuck News reached out to the Minister of Housing and Water, Colin Crowell, who explained he cannot confirm nor deny receipt of a correspondence from Yearwood. Right? He goes on to say, as you can hear, I am busy right now because I realize that I haven't cleared my correspondences for a while. So I'm doing that right now. I have been busy for the past few weeks, so I cannot say if it was delivered, but if it was in my correspondences, then I will look at it and would respond appropriately. And when you listen to Irfan Ali, he isn't even giving Hakeem Jeffries the benefit of the doubt, you know,
whether or not he receives, right? And he's given the impression that
Hakeem is waiting for his correspondence to say, hey, I got something to go to here, boy.
He's given the impression that Hakeem read it and said, I'm not going to this. Right?
Yeah, that's what he's basing his assumption on. That the non-response mean he was refused a meeting, and so you come back and fuming. Now I can see Hakeem Jeffries saying it's a good thing. Look at this fella here.
I would have said
it's a good thing. Here's the minister saying, I don't know if I received this thing, I've been a little busy. I can't even believe Colin Code make this admission. My correspondence box full, right? And like I'm trying to get around to seeing who writes me and what they write me on, but I've been a little busy on the ground.
What isn't not the purpose of a confidential secretary?
I've been a little busy. You understand me? I've been a little busy.
I think that's the purpose of a confidential secretary. You know, people. No, it's not acceptable. Listen. At no point in time could this be a response. This can be a response because the way in which ministries are set up is that you have a minister and a minister have a confidential secretary, and all the correspondence is filtered through the correspondence secretary.
Priority too.
Exactly. The confidential secretary has the responsibility to make sure that all of those things are acknowledged, all of those things are dealt with, and they keep a tab on the length of time that anything has been sitting. Give responses that this needs to be done.
Push that back around to Cory Book. To Hakeem Jeffries. I know you met with Cory Book because it's in my mind there. Now, if you're finally trying to reach with Hakeem Jeffries, how many other world leaders? He got his constituents. How many other folks trying to reach him? And just like Colin Cole, maybe in see.
But that's not that is not the only way. Because and another thing is that when you're dealing with minutes, it just so happens that we know how these things are supposed to be done. So these excuses are not acceptable.
But Jonathan Yearwood could behave in the same way with Colin Cole. He has refused to respond to me.
Correct.
I will deal with this at a higher forum. This activist will not stand for that. I will deal with it in stronger terms.
But my thing is, Hakeem Jeffries, no amount of trying that Irfan could try to belittle who he is can work. At the end of the day, he is who he is, Hakeem Jeffries, and he holds huge portfolios. And when you attack someone like that, it is interpreted as you were attacking those bodies.
But Jurita, that is the scripted Irfan Ali we just saw. That is lines written into a presentation, and he has to hit those notes because that was what he was.
He wrote it in himself.
That's what he was instructed to say.
No, well, right? I have an issue with that. Because and listen, you would never hear Barjagdio saying what he said there.
That's why Ephraim got the lines.
That's my point, right? You would never hear Barjavi saying, because he knows the implications that comes with those things. He wouldn't go out and say that. He usually send out. That's how
Ephraim
people
Ali
always.
of this world.
Actually, no. He don't send out who is supposed to be
You
the
send out your
highest person.
subordinates.
That's
You
who you
don't
send
send,
out.
you don't send the boss out.
You would remember that it was none other than that Priya, the manager, and that got sent out
The feral
when,
class.
when the ambassador was leaving the shores, right?
And,
She was sent out
and then the
because
whole government gets sent out, right? But that being said, that was a scripted April, that was written in. Look,
but you can't take setup like
look
that, man.
scripted April Ali. Now, the British High Commission is there. Pons Cantos is there, the European High Commissioner, and you have other High Commissioners there at this turn-in. And April Ali come off of the script. And he said, I can show y'all now why I went to the business school in iFlood. I can show y'all. I'm a businessman, you know. Right? I can show y'all. Right? Them boys on there, I said, they're doing business. They're doing transactions. Right? We doing business. We don't do transactions here. He said, I can show y'all. This is your finale. This is unscripted. Once he goes off script, problem. This is the fella that I like.
That's your favorite person.
This is the fella we like.
Unless the world trusts us, the world will not do business with us. The world may do transaction with us, but not business. This is not a transaction. This has lasting outcome. There's a big difference between a transaction and doing business. You can do a transaction and make money, one-off transaction, but that is not business. You can have a business that is failing.
So Barjagno was doing a transaction with Sue and the Chinese investor. It wasn't business. It was a transaction. Transactions are one-off. Business? You have the masters in business administration. No, you policy.
No.
Policy.
I'm master's in public administration.
Public administration. And
I have a bachelor's in economics. But it so happens that none of my courses none of my courses actually give me this breakdown.
That's the unscriptedness.
I would have understood if he was dealing with business as say using the word business as a noun, you know, a business place, the business as that, right? It would have meant a lot because then you would know transactions are done on behalf of the business, right? But to give the explanation that he gave there,
this start turning here. This is business. It's not a transaction. It's business we're doing with these high commissions here. High commission. Now, if Cory Booker looks at that too, it's a good thing.
Hakeem Jeffries. I don't know why I started saying Cory Booker's all the time, you know.
If Hakeem Jeffries look at that, he says a good thing here, but this man even know what's the difference of business and transactions. Business is not transactions. Transactions is not business. It's a good thing. I want you to understand these issues.
I think sometimes you know, and that's why it's important for especially persons that sit in those at those levels. If you occupy a specific seat, that you make sure that you stick to the script. You know, the person
stick to the script.
Stick to it. Just don't go out there because whatever it is that he was trying to explain, and nobody got it. You know, nobody got what he was trying to say.
Yeah.
So
businesses a business fail, but women's this outlook could fail because the transactions could go on, but the businesses could fail. Folks, let's say that once more. Maybe you're almost smarter than us here. We try our best. You know, 2 degrees and a master's at this table here, and we still can't make heads or tails of this.
Unless the world trusts us, the world will not do business with us. The world may do transaction with us, but not business. This is not a transaction. This has lasting outcome. There's a big difference between a transaction and doing business. You can do a transaction and make money, one-off transaction, but that is not business. You can have a business that is
failing. I don't know.
But that's what he went back. You heard him say, And this is the problem. There's several problems. Like I don't want to go into language because I'm not the expert when it comes to anything language. Either like I deal with numbers and but you can he did say it, and that's why I'm saying like it's so confusing because he's using transaction versus business, and then he went on to say that you can have a business but it's failing. So it's like now he's using that same thing. He's using business in two different senses.
Like I'd rather do transactions because like they don't fail.
No, you're not getting it. He's using business as an establishment now, as a place. You can have a business. Not
as a process.
Exactly. He's using it as a process, and then he went effortlessly without a comma to use it as
but this
as a place.
You know, when you
like, I'm not. I don't.
I
do not want to try to understand what was the intention.
See when you mail order degrees, you go online, you buy PhD and so on. You know, this is the result of it. You know,
it's crazy. I don't get it.
You cringe because how we can be taken seriously? You have all this manufactured rage.
You know,
and then you say something like this, like, I can't take you seriously. I can't take you seriously.
There's a lot of things being done right about now.
I see why you leave up, you know, I shake you. And after that, you fail the course, I'm going to shake you. Shake your hand as a prize. How are you going to get shaken?
Well, the opposition, you know, there's COVID, there's monkeypox, there's all kind of things now.
You fail the question.
So you can't be putting yourself at risk.
Business, define transaction, you want a handshake? Congratulations, you failed. That's how it's done. As a student, you have to work harder next time. But
and let us be clear. You know, there can be situations in which you have cordial relations between government representatives and opposition representatives. There are tons of situations where you can have cordial relationship. But I think the position is that why have a farce? Why pretend that we have a cordial relationship if the cordial relationship does not exist? What's the point in going forward with handshakes and all of that if then you're still not willing to sit down across the table and have discussions as it pertains to the betterment of Guyanese? And those are the real issues. Those are the real questions that we need to be answering on a daily basis. So we need to go in. I think Guyanese, you know, it's all sensational and good, you know. Oh, you know, you just get to go and have a little bit of chatter about a handshake, but let us not major in the minor issues, and let's look at the actual issues at hand.
You see, the problem here is that everyone wanted to gaff. Norton don't want gaff. He want gaff.
Let's set a meeting. You know, the thing is about it, why not set meetings to have real discussions and make real decisions? Come on.
Get a photo up. Leave the opposition. The opposition have time for gaff. You got serious issues. You know, your party just suspend 8 MPs. One of them, which you want to shake the MP hands.
How do you get...
Congrats on your suspension. Right? You just suspend 8 MPs. Look at where this country is cost of living. That's time to shake hands and smile. No. And folks, don't get tired, you know. Don't get tired. I want y'all to take a breath. Right? Because some of y'all jumping on the boat too quick. Hold up. Let me recount this story for you. That jugged me. Years ago, this would affect me. Right? That jugged me. Let's bring y'all back a little bit. Handshake it. Let's bring y'all back a little bit. Right? I think it was 2009 or 20 or 2010. We had a student protest on campus that I was leading. We locked the main gate. We wanted to protest the conditions of campus. We do things.
You're bad from long.
Right? All from Linden, you know. We from Bartica. Bartica, Bato. See, some things happen at the other day. People driving through barriers and so on.
Knocking down people.
You know, giving people a heart attack and killing them. No, not sorry.
But
that's another story. Lock off the campus gate. There was a lecturer, a lecturer, my friend, lecturer, from Ohio State University. They were she was living on campus, staying on campus while they were visiting. And she was trapped outside the gate when we closed it. We were at the gate and she said, you know, I'm not part of this. I don't know what's happening here. I'm just trying to get in. We say, you know, what goes to one goes to all. And the woman fired off some expletives at me, right?
The lecturer?
Yes. I am thinking. I did the protest. But that wasn't the thing. A few days later, I started passing her back in the normal course of student-lecturer relations, you know, going to classes, because she was a communications lecturer too. And I was an undergraduate at that time reading for communications. And I would say good morning, good afternoon. Woman wouldn't say anything to me.
And she held it against
Right?
you.
And I ran into our then communications director, now Vice Chancellor of the University of Guyana, Paloma Mohammed. And I said, Doc, as we call her fondly, Doc. And I would say morning to the lecturer, she don't say nothing but it. And Dr. Mohammed jogged me. She jogged me. I remember to this day, she said the lecturer, Sharon, is under no obligation today. Good morning, good afternoon, or good night. Right? Those are courtesies. Right? There's no obligation. In no part of university regulation, you go and say the lecturer is transgression. So if you say good morning and she say good morning, fair enough. If she don't say good morning, keep on moving. Right? These are courtesy. You are under no obligation. There's no written rule of law. There's no rule book you can go to and say somebody is obligated to shake your hand.
Yeah.
Right? It's like you go to a workplace and people look at see who's smiling with them, that thing shook me up.
Yeah.
And when I thought about it, I said, you know what? Doc is right. Doc is right.
Yeah.
Right? The lecturer was under no obligation. Right? Would it be nice if she said good morning when I said good morning back?
Yeah.
But afterwards, I locked the gate on the woman. The woman, as you said, held it against me. Right? I'd forgotten about that and gone on. It's student life. All right? And the woman wouldn't say a word. Doc says she's under no obligation
To exchange pleasantries with you.
pleasantries with me. You just got to keep moving on.
That's not in the contract.
Right? Well, are you going to resign tomorrow? You got to keep leaving. Everybody you meet one like you. Why you want this big kumbaya?
But I think you made an important point, because one of the persons, and I
You
saw
got to keep moving.
I saw the photo being circulated, because it was done in a way, and this is where you separate what is actually genuine from things that are just done for a photo op. You went to the leader of the opposition, Mr. Norton, and you tried to shake. He didn't. Oh, then you walk around, because the cameras are there flashing. Oh, you're going to go to the person next to you and outstretch your hand.
Yeah.
And then you're going to go to the person next to them, outstretch your hand. Not because it's genuine.
say,
Not because it's genuine, because you want to make a point. You want this photo op being circulated. But then the third person you went to just happens to be none other than Vince Roy Jordan, member of Parliament, Vince Roy Jordan.
Just suspended for 6 sittings.
Exactly. He being one of the persons that just got suspended for 6 sittings, and he's supposed to be cordial. He's supposed to be
nice
delighted. He's supposed to what?
You're just lucky on the National Assembly gate.
Yeah.
I expect him to say good morning and shake your hands for that.
Not only locking out the National Assembly, they're making sure that your representatives in the House say that he's to get no money, he's to get no salaries. Right, he only has a wife and kids. That's all he have, right?
Yeah.
Wife and children depend. But let's if he doesn't reach out his hands.
Big thing, man. Don't take it personally.
This is a fact. These are the facts. These are the facts that
we don't want
before. Shaking his hands is going to do what? Is it going to make sure that he's? Are you going to say that? Oh, let's sit around the table. We're going to pull back on this thing.
That Hakeem Jeffries piece is part of the pushback of Ibrahim Ali on his detractors, or what he perceived his detractors.
Hakeem Jeffries is a detractor?
It's a lengthy bit on what the opposition said about his trip. It's a lengthy tirade. That was the Saturday, and that was the Sunday, I think it was, he came back. Whichever, it was over the weekend. You cuss out the opposition, but Emancipation Day, let me shake hand, man, no big thing. Don't take it personally.
Yeah.
Right? Nobody's under any obligation to shake your hand, to tell good morning, good afternoon, to smile with you, to want to be in a photograph. No obligation whatsoever. What's this about?
Some people, and we have to say, and to each his own.
It would sell a nice signal if the government and opposition work together. But that's not the climate we're living in.
But that's not a fact, and this is what I want, and this is my point with that, because I hear where people are coming from, and I've been reading a lot of the comments on it, and there's a lot of people saying, like that the people want to see a situation that there are cordial relations between government and opposition, but that is simply not the case. It's not the case right now. It's not the case at all. When 8 members of Parliament are suspended, 4 of which suspended for 6 sittings, 4 of which suspended for 4 sittings, all salaries removed. That's an indefinite period, because you know how often we meet in the National Assembly. It's an indefinite period they've been suspended for.
Yeah.
And how do you go to that member of
Yeah.
parliament and expect them to be smiling
Yeah.
and shaking your hand?
And
How
you
do
know
you do
what?
that? It's not
You know
it's
what?
not cordial.
We
It's not
started by
okay.
reflecting on emancipation. We said, both you and I, the heart of it is the
Economics of it, the
economics.
financial empowerment.
You notice something. Whenever, and it's more pronounced of recent than ever before, when the PPP go to the Afro-Guyanese community, they go with promises. When they go to Indo-Guyanese community, sadly, they go with cash grants in hand to hand out. They went, Melanie is a whole host of them pack up in Melanie.
Yeah.
Right? But people still hungry when you leave.
But I have more issues when
Right?
it comes to.
And there's a whole host of that. We cannot shake hands. And I want to point out a couple of things. We cannot shake hands because we're seeing the prevailing climate. Here is the Americans talking to them since a year ago. And there's been one Ariadne thread, one line of thought running through all of the Americans have been saying. Hank Williams, over a year ago, talking about, again, strengthening democracy and building a more inclusive nation. This is Hank Johnson, another senior politician and senator, congressman rather, in the US. This is Hank Johnson last year. Again, this is Albio series during the whole flood period when people were complaining yet again of cash grants not being handed out equitably, and all the things we talk about of this program, saying again, in Guyana, we should work to ensure the proceeds of oil and revenue benefit the entire population. This is where you want to shake hands and then we pretend everything is all right. Person after person, this is the US Secretary of State quite recently, again, talking about shared prosperity, right? Inclusive growth, strengthen transparency, and the FYI comes back and say, you're wrong about why we were invited to Washington. The Americans want to partner with us. So we're not reading all this stuff. This is the Secretary of State talking about shared transparency. We said they're looking at us, right? Are they reading the tea leaves wrong? Inclusive growth. Are they reading what's happening here wrong? Like, are we wrong and just here for them right? Strengthen transparency. The people just write to the Commission of Information. He sent them to the minister. The minister said he hadn't seen the document yet. They want information. They want transparency. Strengthen transparency. He ain't seen that. Sarah Lynch, late last year in December last year, again on International Anti-Corruption Day, telling the PPP, the Americans want to see your anti-corruption initiatives. We ain't seen it. Again, they're talking about they're hoping the government is committed to transparent institutions that utilize the country's resources to the long-term benefit of all Guyanese. All of these statements say two things: transparency, inclusive governance, and three: a shared money growth, the resources of the country.
The equity, basically, they're talking about.
What are we shaking hands on?
No,
we want to farce, or we're going to have.
But that is the point. That is the point. And I have, and I understand where people are coming. In politics generally, there's a lot of people out there. I say there's a large number of politicians that are extremely pretentious, and it is good to when you know that somebody's not pretentious and somebody is not just willing to go out there and do something that they don't believe in. If you are not, this is not an action that you endorse. You're not going to go there and be pretentious. And I think it's very important. That's a strength altogether. That it's not okay. Like, how many of you out there, how many of you out there, someone will suspend you, send you home, no pay and everything, and then they come to you to shake your hand. What would be your reaction? And you have to think about it. Really, let it sink in. What would be your reaction altogether if that is something that you're in that position?
The man control the pay,
right?
And for 6 sit-ins could end next year. Time like now.
That's the point. That's
right?
It's an indefinite
period.
No
salary. You don't know what's to become of your family, what's to become of your bills. But let me shake hands and take a picture in the national interest.
It's absolute chaos. It's crazy.
Yeah. That's it. That's it, folks. That's it. A lot of stuff happening, and we're trying to keep you guys abreast with valid, credible information. It's a new month. We say that. again, you perhaps, if not as yet, you're in the process of rethinking what happened last month in terms of all of the things you were chasing, your goals,
Yeah.
those kinds of stuff, or you're setting sights on some new stuff this month, or it was a 2-month process, but we got to pick up the pace, folks. We're coming down. By the time we hop, skip, and a jump, we're at
You're
August
right.
month 10, and we
Yep.
head to September. By the time we're there, it's Christmas. It's
Mhm.
Christmas. So we got to pick up the pace a little bit, and we can stay on top of the issues on your behalf,
Yeah. That is correct, guys. I have to say thank you for joining us. I know we've been a little over time this morning, but we had
Yeah.
lots to discuss, and I know yesterday was a holiday, so we had to pack in a little bit more
Yeah.
on your plate.
Yeah.
But
And so much more happened
yeah.
over the weekend.
so much more.
Because we didn't even have a chance to dig into this impressions issue.
Oh
Really, truly,
goodness. Yeah,
among
when it
other
comes to
things.
accountability altogether, we have to speak about it. We
Yeah.
have to speak about the accountability, lack of accountability,
Yeah.
and lack of transparency, and how it is impacting a person. It's not just if it's not impacting you directly, I can assure you it's impacting you indirectly. And this is a fact that we're dealing with. I mean, when it comes to business and the way in which the private sector operates, the way in which government operates with the private sector, the PPP government operates with the private sector. I always say that they segment and they divide the private sector in such little chunks that they make sure that that the majority of persons there, small, medium scale business owners, that they are there, they're struggling, and they, as Ali said, business
Yeah.
may fail because they're not
Yeah.
having equitable access to the resources and contracts that are out there. So.
Yeah.
Lots
Rising
to
tide
discuss.
gonna float all boats, not just some. Brenda Pollard, thanks for joining us this morning. Sonia Massey, Cobb, and Maria Alicock, all the other folks. It's been our privilege. Candy and all the other guys. Such a privilege to see you guys.
Yeah.
Darlene Dorset, Gwen Anderson, good to see you folks. Thanks
Good
for
to
joining
see
us.
all of you.
Share the live, guys. You want others to get valid, credible information as well. Smash that emoji button. We're still trying to clear some of the expenses
Yes.
from last month, some of our responsibilities from July. And we encourage you guys, even for this month, to stay on board, come on board, plan to be on board and partner with us, folks, so that we can continue to do what we do this time.
That is correct. Partner with us. Make sure to join the other programs. I have to say that just before you get to the In the Ring program, folks, we have the rally at 4:30
Yeah.
this afternoon. Make sure that all
Yeah.
roads head there.
Yeah, and I just want to alert you guys, if that rally goes late,
We may
we're
not
gonna-
have the
Well,
program.
we'll incorporate that as part of
Yes.
the In the Ring program if it goes late. But plan to be part of that rally, please,
Yes.
and thank you. So from here, tying your laces and you're preparing to head through the door if you're traveling from far.
Have a
Glad to do it.
great day, guys.
Yeah.
Short week, but we have a lot to
Yeah.
get done. Nevertheless, make sure that you join Below the Belt at 12, and then we're going to be seeing you again at 8 p.m. Have a good day, guys.
Yeah.